Nobody knows where this motorcycle's life began, but we do know where it came to an end, or almost did. Back in 1957, an 18-year-old lad from Chingy Creek, having had a day off from the farm to help an uncle move house, arrived home with a truckload of unwanted junk, which happened to include the Matchless. He and his younger brother soon found that the motorcycle was a more exciting mount than a horse, although somewhat more dangerous.
That'd be right. Like when I first got it, I was pretty new. I'd never ridden a motorbike before, and had plenty of push bike experience and that sort of thing. But I took it up on the mountain here behind me, and I broke a brake pedal coming back down, and didn't do the bike much good. A few somersaults and so forth, and busted the front end. But the worst part of it was that I had taken a girlfriend at the time.
It was one of our first was to be our first date, and Percy landed along in the custom line, and he hopped out and he was limping. Well, straight away I thought, that bloody motorbike. That's what it is. I always said that'll what happen.
And I was too proud to have crutches, but I should have had them. I had a sprained ankle and a few stitches in the cut that I received and so forth. Hobbled in, yeah, fair enough. That's history. But righto, the motorbike, we came home, straightened a bit with the front frame out as best we could, and took it up to a mate up Christmas Creek, and he brazed it back together for me, and that's about the story on that.
Recently, only 5-6 years ago, I was in hospital and they thought I had pneumonia, so they sent me down for a lung x-ray. And a few hours later, I've got 3 doctors around the bed and looking very worried. And then they said, lean forward, and they checked my back and they couldn't see anything there. And they said, have you been shot? And I said, no, I don't think so. He said, well, you've got a back full of shotgun pellets. And I think there was 9 or 10 of them they can find. And I said, get me a look at that x-ray. And he showed me. I said, they don't look like pellets. I said, I think I know what they are. And it turned out that back when I was about 12 or 13, I don't remember how old I was, but I was roaring down the road. We'd given our Matchless a bit of a tune-up, and it was going the best it had ever gone. And my estimate is I was probably doing about 70 miles an hour, and one of our pigs ran across, or actually a dozen of the pigs ran across the road, and I only hit one, but it was enough. And 100 metres or so further down the road, I stopped skidding. And that day I was wearing the full safety stuff, a pair of shorts, no shirt, no shoes, nothing. I was skinned from the waist to the neck, I really was, and apparently some of the gravel decided to stay in there.
The bike eventually died and was still in a state of semi-decomposed rigor mortis under the farmhouse more than 40 years later, when it was acquired by Chris, a self-taught enthusiast. Chris spent 10 years performing a miracle on the bike. Every bit of the machine had to be repaired or rebuilt from scratch. He describes some of the challenges he met.
Yeah, the front forks were pretty well bent up. I had to take them all apart because it's probably 50 different pieces there, sort of thing. I had to take them all apart, get them straightened out. A friend from Ipswich in the motorcycle club helped me with that, and it come up nice and straight. So on the back of the bike, the mudguard wasn't there, didn't exist.
They held on one bolt at the bottom. There should be one up here, but that'd fallen out a long time ago. And I was coming back from having a swim over Mount Gips and come down the mountain, quite steep and gravel road, and no front brakes, as I said before, and round it went, and stalled the motor, and it skidded down the gravel road, which was quite steep, as I said. No brakes, nothing then, so I was on a skid, and I got a fair amount of speed, and I would have gone at least half a kilometre before I stopped, but didn't do the mudguard much good. I didn't get hurt that time.
there's no mudguard there whatsoever sort of thing, so I just had to make up another one to fit it. Well, I had to make up the gear shift from start. I had a pattern off a friend that I got from Dubbo. He sent it up to me, and I made out of a cardboard pattern with a gear gate down here. It's made up of three pieces. You've got the outside, inside, and then also your gate where you shift. It's a 3-speed, and your shift slides up and down through that. And I also made up the gear shift itself, and the gear knob. I got a couple of guys down at the Boona Showground. They were displaying their lathe work, and I asked them to make up a wooden ball for me. So, and the Matchless come out with a wooden ball gear knob, and that was the results of it. I'm pretty happy with it. Well, I've had to get all the mufflers made up for them. They're all been handmade. I had a friend in the club that he does stainless steel work, and fabricated all the mufflers for me, and also the exhaust pipes. They all had to be handmade. They're sand bent or heated up sand bent exhaust pipes, and the mufflers are all made out of stainless steel, and this is what I've had the pattern to make it up out of. It's in pretty poor condition. This is a 28 muffler. They got the flutes in them, whereas the 27 haven't got the flutes in them, and that's the results of what had come up. The fuel tank was in pretty bad shape. The boys must have caught on fire at one stage, and
The fuel tank, when it was full, it flowed over into so that both sides ended up full. But as it emptied, the piece that went over the frame tended to separate the two tanks. So to counteract that, they had a short pipe that went from the bottom of one tank and under and up into the bottom of the other tank, and that kept them equal. And it came loose apparently, and because we never ever had the luxury of an exhaust pipe, the engine just shot flames straight out of the head, and that happened to be straight below where the petrol was leaking. And the first I knew was that my legs were getting warm, and so then I looked down and there was it was getting to be a bit of a flame by then. I thought, geez, I'm going to lose this bike. So I wasn't far from the creek, so we had a reasonably deep water hole, so I aimed it for that and went flat out into the creek with it, and that put the fire out. It worked well. But from then on, the fuel tank never held fuel again, so we took the fuel tank off and had a little, I think it was a brake fluid tin on it, that held half a pint or something. Plenty of fuel to do a day's mustering. It was good, yeah.
I come along and we just had to pull it all apart, take all the welds off them, sandblasted it, nearly all fell apart sort of thing, but we made up the tank inside and out sort of thing, and it's actually joined up the top there, so we had to make up another flue for it for the fuel to run through to the other tank, and patch it up. And this strip I had to make up myself. That's all handmade. I got a friend to cut it out. We started with a piece of stainless steel like this, and it had to be rolled and cut out and holes drilled and everything, pretty precise where the holes were drilled sort of thing. So, and that's just to cover up the join in the tank.
The engine is a single-cylinder 350cc 4-stroke with exposed pushrods and twin exhaust ports. It supplies power via a 3-speed Sturmey Archer transmission. Once again, the 1927 Matchless breathes the fresh country air.